What's up, everybody? Welcome to Powerhouse Game Dev. Today I'm going to give a quick tutorial on Blender. There's going to be a lot of information, and so I'm going to just jump into it. First, it's always good to know what you want to model. You can make anything in Blender. 3D models like a mask or furniture, from a spaceship to guns to houses to more guns to swords to another spaceship to a bus. Whatever you can think, you can make. Also, it's nice sometimes to have references because you can make certain furniture from a reference picture. It's always good to look up on Google side and front view of things, whatever you want to model. Like right here, I have examples. I looked up side and front view, but for the most of the time, it pops up heads, human forms, side and front view. So you might have to be a little bit more specific when you're looking up on Google. Like here, we have a few of cars, horses. Let's see, a turtle right here, airplane. You can model anything in Blender. And so we'll jump on into it. Now, when you first open Blender right here, you'll have your preferences. But once you fix your preferences, this will be what you see every time you open it. And with Blender, they have these five main modes to sculpt in or create in. And usually you'll go to General. So I'll start with General and I'll give you a basic layout. Let's see, you can use your mouse pad to scroll in. You can click down on the mouse pad to rotate around it. Also, you can click up here to rotate as well. You can Up here you have a few different options. You can click this to drag it to the left. Click this to go zoom in, zoom out. Also, if you click this, it will take you to the render mode. So what we'll be doing is creating game objects in Blender for Unreal Engine, but Blender itself is used to animate, to create um, basically anything for promotion, a lot of different things. Blender is very versatile. So usually what I start out another thing, we'll go back to the layout. Over here you have your viewport. You can see all the things especially modifiers, textures, and a lot of different things to create your character or whatever you're creating. So to start off, you always start off in object mode, and with object mode, there are three different ways to move or do something. And here's the move, the transform. It's left and right, and it's just to move your object wherever you need it in a scene. Here you have rotate. You can rotate it on any different axis, the X, Y, and Z, as well as if you grab this outer line, you can rotate it along your view. Right here you have scale. Like if I need to, I can scale the cube this way, scale it this way, scale it this way. Those are your main three: your move, your rotate, and your scale. And also, if you go to the transform, then this is a mix of all three. You can scale as well as rotate and then move. Just a quick overview. There'll be a lot of information. This is um, this is mainly casual. It's not set out. So that's your object mode, mainly to view. So the second mode that you'll go into is edit mode. Sorry, I let that go up. Um, you can smoke on that. In the edit mode, you have your three viewpoints. You have your face view, you have your line view, and you have your vertex view. Now, vertices are these corners, and then a line is made up of two or more vertices, and then a line is made up of two vertices, and then a face is made up of two or more vertices. And so going down the list here, you have your standard move, rotate, scale, transform, and then you have different tools. You have to play around with it because there are so many tools for Blender. I wouldn't have enough time for this video. But the main tools that I use are extrude, scale, and rotate. And depending on what you're in, so say if I'm in the face view, I click the top face right here, find a face, and if you click E to extrude, this is what extrude does. It can extrude down and up, and then I could click R to rotate, and with this, if I click R and then X, it will cap it in the X-axis, or Y in the Y, or Z in the Z-axis. Let's see, and then scale. Uh, E, your hotkeys are E to extrude, R to rotate, and S to scale. And if you notice, when you scale this way, it scales it on all axes. If I wanted to scale it on a specific axis, I would just go click scale right here, and I can then scale it on the X, Y, or Z axis specifically. Also, if you click the white circle, you can scale it the same as well. All right, other tools that I use, these ones you can insert face. I don't use this one as much, but it is an option. Extrude region, add cube. You'll just have to play around with all these. Loop cut I do use a lot. It's good for adding to your topology. I like say if you go here, that cuts it one time. If I go up here, I can have it cut it multiple times if needed be. And also, whenever you cut it, you can scale up as well, extrude along a line. But if you notice, if you extrude along a line, then it's not a full object, and you get an open face. Let's see. The knife tool is really good for cutting specific things. Like say if I wanted to come here and type out a B. I know it's a terrible B, but it's just a show. And then if I click enter, it brings it in, and from there that's a face. I can extrude it in, extrude it out, scale it up. I know it's a lot of information, just first draft. Other tools, Polybuild. Polybuild is used for really a high topology, and what it does is I can grab anything by the vertices and then build it from there how I need it. Let's see, spin. You have to mess around with these. I haven't used much of these yet. There's so much that even I'm still learning. All right. So back to hotkeys. Just so that all the hotkeys are known. If you do Control Z, that's undo. If you do E, that's extrude based off what you're clicking. R to rotate, S to scale, and then there's this one called inset. If you click I, it will inset. Then you can extrude down from there. If you do Control B, that's bevel, and this is what a bevel is. If you scroll up with the mouse wheel, it adds cuts to the bevel as well. And if you notice, you can play around with it from back and forth. But so Control B to bevel. Also, if you want to add a loop cut, but you don't want to actually go to the loop cut, you do Control R, and then you hover over it. If you scroll up with the mouse wheel, you can add more cuts. And this is good for adding in adding in different things like so, adding in more detail as well. Sorry, I couldn't get that out. So let's see, more hotkeys. If you select something and then select something else holding control, it will select everything in between. But if you select something and select something else holding shift, it will select those individual faces. Another hotkey, you can do Alt E to bring up the extrude menu, and usually extrude along faces is a very nice one. There's also another one called extrude along individual faces, which is very nice as well. It's good for adding detail, and then anything you have selected, you always can scale down, extrude, rotate if you want. It's just all about playing around with this, playing around with it. Also, so next is bevel. For the bevel, you can bevel along a face or a line, and or invert it. Oh yeah, a face or a line. And so, as you notice, if I bevel right here, it adds in more detail, as well as I can scroll up on the mouse wheel to add in more cuts. See, um, you can, if you select multiple faces, you can inset. If you do click I, that's a regular inset, but then if you click I again, then it will inset on individual faces. And from there, you can extrude, bevel, whatever you need to create more detail. A good thing is also knowing what you're modeling too. It's always good to have an idea of what you want to model. So let's see. Um, right here, over here, we have your modifiers. Also, I'm gonna get rid of. Well, first we have to tab back. We'll go back over into object mode. It's good to look up all the hotkeys. I know the hotkey for object mode is 1. The hotkey for edit mode is 2, I believe. But you also have to be, well, just look up the hotkeys because that's wrong. But from here, we have, um, we can go look at our modifiers. Modifiers are your best friend. You can go through here, you'll see you have many different ones, but usually the ones I use are in generate. The ones I've used so far is array. It helps you set up um, multiple objects that are the same and the same distance, so it's nice and symmetrical. So if these were say part of a fence, I could set it up to where they'd be the exact same length, and then I can create as many as I want up on the fixed count here. Also, you can change it to where it's fitting a length or a curve. Um, Up here at add, you can go and add anything you need as well. If it's a mesh, then it's a physical object, um, and these are all the objects you'll ever need when creating things. So you can start off with a plane or a cube, which is a plane that's 3D, a circle, or a UV sphere, which is a circle 3D, and they also do have an icosphere, which is a circle, a sphere made out of triangles. They also have a cylinder, a cone, and this thing called a torus, which is basically a donut. So, let's see, in the add menu as well, you can add curves. You have to mess around with all these because, as again, there's so much that I don't even know everything. You can add text. You can also add reference images right here, and you can also add what an armature is it's basically a skeleton for any characters so that you can animate them because Blender can be used for animation as well. It can be used for animation, video effects, 2D animation as well. That's a whole different side of it as well. But back to the modifiers. So I showed you the array modifier. Now we got the Boolean modifier, and the Boolean modifier is really good when you want to combine two objects together. So I'll bring in here a sphere. I'll scale it up a little bit so we're able to see it. And so with the Boolean modifier, you have the main two that you use is differences and union. If you do it on an object, you can click the object, that would be a sphere. And if I do difference, all I gotta do is click here and apply, and then delete the sphere, and you'll notice that I've cut a part out of the first object that was sphere shaped. So that is what they call a destructive workflow, or you can do a constructive workflow and build from the ground up. This is actually what I like doing best, using the Boolean tool. It's one that I use a lot. For the union, all I have to do is click apply as well, and then delete the sphere. And then now we have just one object that's a union of the two original objects. Let's see. Alright. So we've shown the array and the boolean. These are all just the ones I used. Bevel, it's the same as the bevel tool that I showed earlier. Mirror, it's one of the best tools you can use just because it helps with all your symmetry if you're trying to build characters. Let's see. There we go. So what I can do is offset it on an object. Oh, that's the wrong one. We're pulling back up the mirror. Alright. So if you notice, the mirror is one of the most used ones because it can help you mirror along either an object or it's the object you're working on itself. And I can mirror it in every different axis, X, Y, and Z. I can do the bisects, and that's just an example of the mirror tool itself. I can do it around an object, which is real nice. It can add a lot of different variations or cool things to your project. So that's just an example of the mirror tool and how it works. You can also, with the merge, if these two were connecting, if you can raise the merge threshold so that it will make it look more. It will make it look like more like one object rather than two pushed together because there might be some creases or your vertices might be messed up a little bit. Alright, let's see. After the modifiers, we got a few different modifiers. You have to play around with all of them. Another one that I use a lot is the subdivision surface, and automatically you can see it does something different to the object I was working with. It subdivides every face, makes it look more smoother. So what I can do is increase the face size, the level viewport. I can increase it, and the more I increase it, the smoother it looks. This will help in your modeling. It makes everything look smoother, makes it look real, especially when you're working on characters. So that is all the modifiers. Again, you'll just have to play around with everything because there's so much I can go through. Final thing I'll go through is the sculpt, and the sculpt mode is very good. But you'll have to play around with the modifiers, and because you need something with a lot of faces in order to sculpt it perfectly. So what I'll do is I'll go to the sphere, I'll add a subdivision surface modifier, click apply, and then from there I should be able to sculpt it a lot better. So you got a lot of different tools. The main ones I'll go over real quick are draw, crease, smooth, grab, elastic deform, and snake hook. Those are all around the same. But just to show a few, here's draw. Here's one called layer. Makes it smooth. You can just mess around with all these. Clay. Let's see. Smooth will smooth it back. You can also go up here and change the radius and the strength. Smooth it. Inflate's nice because it inflates. There's also one called blob that does roughly the same. Let's see, and then another one I use is crease. Crease is good for making we'll turn the strength up and the radius down. Increase is good for making your eyes, your eyelids, setting up. So say I would. Also, you can use multiple things together. I can use the sculpt, and I could also use the mirror modifier. Yep. And I know that don't look correct. Yep. There we go. That looks better. It's just all about playing around, smoothing out something. drawing something. Yeah, but it's been a rough draft for the tutorial. I think I'm gonna cut it off here. All you gotta do is just play around with everything. Watch tutorials. There's so much you can do with Blender. You can animate. You can. There's so much you can do. Just and always, it's always good to have a reference photo. It's always good to know what you want to model to. And this is how I create stuff to put into video games, whether it's characters, environmental things, or even enemies, like or particles, like fire or water, well, water particle systems type. But it's a lot of information I know, but hopefully this got you started. And thank you for watching.